Albert Williams was born in Dunedin in 1886, the twin of brother John and son of Henry and Jane Williams. The family moved to Palmerston when Albert was a boy, and he attended school there. The family later moved back to Dunedin, where Albert worked as a labourer for Hog & Co timber merchants. Along with his younger brother Freddie, he became a star player at the Alhambra Rugby Club and represented Otago numerous times between 1910 and 1913. Albert volunteered for overseas war service at some point after 1914, but was rejected as medically unfit. He then married Rose King in Temuka in April 1916, and their daughter Alberta was born there in July 1917. By then, Albert had been called up under the conscription regulations and this time was past fit. He went into training in Wellington in May 1917 with the 29th Reinforcements to the New Zealand Expeditionary Force. Albert was able to see his baby daughter at least once and was given a farewell by his friends and family in Dunedin on his final leave at the beginning of August, during which his former employer presented him with an illuminated wristwatch. He then set sail for Britain, where he undertook further training at Sling Camp on the Salisbury Plain, during which he was assigned to the Otago Regiment. Albert crossed to France on Christmas Day 1917, and after orientation training at Étape, he was posted to the 14th South Otago Company of the 1st Otago Infantry Battalion in the field. Albert had arrived at a low point in the New Zealand Division's history, still suffering the trauma of Passchendaele and the horrendous losses sustained in that failed attack on 12 October, in which Albert's brother James and brother-in-law Fred Wright had both been killed. The New Zealanders were still stationed in Flanders and enduring the harsh conditions of a particularly cold northern winter, with snow adding to the miseries of the wet, muddy trenches and regular gas and artillery bombardments from the Germans. Albert had some brief respites when he was sent for additional training out of the line, but the early months of 1918 were to prove particularly challenging for the British armies when the Germans unleashed a great spring offensive that smashed through their lines and threatened a widespread collapse. The New Zealand Division was rushed south to plug a gap in the line on the Somme and put a stop to the German breakthrough. The front gradually stabilised and then the Allies began to advance themselves. The New Zealanders had great success through the middle of the year and by August were pressing forward to take the strategic town of Bapaume. It was to prove a bloody victory, however, and Albert was killed in the fighting on 25 August 1918, probably as the 14th Company was engaged in a successful assault on the village of Favril. His body was buried where he fell, but after the war it was exhumed and reinterred in the La Homme Mort British Cemetery just north of Favril. Albert's family would have one more wartime loss to suffer when his younger brother Freddie died at sea from influenza en route to Britain with the 40th Reinforcements in September 1918. Albert's widow Rose later remarried to Harry Gillam.